Joining us now, U.S. national editor of the Financial Times and author of the new book, Zbig, The Life of Zbigniew Brzezinski, America's Greatest Power Prophet, Ed Luce. Staff writer for The Atlantic and MSNBC political analyst Ashley Parker, and senior MSNBC political contributor and chief strategist for the Bush-Cheney 2004 presidential campaign, Matthew Dowd. All right, Ed, give me more about why you think this is a big political loser.
Well, I mean, this is a reverse Robin Hood budget. I mean, it's just so clear, the transfer of wealth from the poor, the bottom decile to the top decile, that I hate to be cynical, that even the Democratic Party couldn't screw up the messaging on this. It's, I think, the most blatant fiscal transfer, upward redistribution of a single piece of legislation this century, and there is competition. So the question then is, are the right people held accountable? I mean, you have people like Lisa Murkowski, saying it's a bad bill. I hope the House fixes it. But I looked after number one. I voted for a bill I don't like. I don't know, because there was some tax break for whaling captains in Alaska. This has got to be blowback territory, and we're getting, soft stagflation coming into the economic numbers, rising inflation, and very likely there's going to be a softening labor market with the economic slowdown. And when that happens, people will notice that their already threadbare sort of social protection is being made more threadbare. And if the laws of physics still apply, they will hold the authors of this big, beautiful bill to account.
Let me ask you this, Matthew. Are Democrats messaging on this correctly? Are they seizing it? I mean, Ed says even Democrats can't mess this up. It's so obvious. What are you seeing?
Well, I've doubted the Democrats' ability to mess something up. So, I mean, could they mess it up? Possibly. But I think the dynamics of this are in place that, as you know, Katie, and you've been through this, a normal midterm is bad for the incumbent president, any normal midterm. It's really bad when a president's job approval is down near 40 or 41%. It really becomes bad. And then you combine normal midterm, bad presidential job approval with this bill, which is by 20 points, even including Fox News polls, says the American public doesn't want it. Even before they've felt the ramifications of it, they've already said they don't want this bill. All of that combination makes it very difficult, in my view, for Democrats to mess up the midterms in the course of this. Could they perform better if they have a better sort of efficient, effective message? Yeah, but it's going to be hard for them, in my view, not to do exceedingly well in the midterm when you combine all those factors in place in this. And they have two things going for them, and Ed mentioned some. The two things are the Republican Party can no longer open their mouth and say fiscal responsibility. It doesn't work. That just can't, it'll be laughable if they say that.
It didn't work. Come on. After Matt, after Donald Trump's first term, could they credibly say that? I mean, the debt got raised
I think they could credibly say it because the economy was actually doing.
I mean,
I'm not saying they could credibly say it. They could say it and people could hear, well, they did a bill and, maybe they expanded government. The economy is doing reasonably well. The economy today isn't doing as well as it was back when Donald Trump was president. So that's one. The second one is, if Democrats are smart, and your previous panel talked about this, and the Democratic mayor candidate Mondami in New York has said these things, they need to run on economic populism and use the bill as an example of why we need economic populism. Because the greatest contrast and the greatest message against cultural populism, which is what Donald Trump pushes, is economic populism. And that's what the Democrats need to run on.
So, Ashley, anyone in the White House or in Donald Trump's orbit concerned about this?
Okay. So the White House believes, on the one hand, that the president is fulfilling some of his campaign promises, including a tremendous amount of tax cuts. That's something and they were very clear that they wanted to fulfill the promises they made on the campaign trail. That said, they're also very clear-eyed about the midterm elections. There was even a sense going in, as a top Trump advisor put it to me, the midterms happen, and this is just historically speaking, a president's first midterm, and the music stops, right? And they know that if they lose these midterms, there's investigations and just his agenda stalls and he becomes a lame duck far earlier than he would like to. And there is a sense, so there's an understanding that if there is blowback and they're trying to put together a coalition that he was able to bring together when he was on the top of the ticket as the presidential candidate. And sometimes they've seen in the past that doesn't translate when he's not on the top of the ticket. He can sometimes sell his unpopular policies and results in a way that Republicans down ballot cannot. But right now they are just focused on getting this, as they would call it, big, beautiful bill passed. Ideally, they hope before this 4th of July deadline he has somewhat falsely imposed.
What's interesting, Matt, is that Democrats are trying to put make J.D. Vance the face of this. Looking ahead to the 2028 presidential election, they're saying he was the tie-breaking vote. Point to him. He's the one that's done this. Is that effective? Or what do you think of that?
Well, I don't think it's effective in the midterm. I just, it loses its effectiveness of the greater effectiveness of making Donald Trump and the Republican Party as a whole the problem in the course of this. I think, as you say, they're trying to leaning into who they expect to be the likely Republican nominee in 2028. And so I think eventually, I think they're saying it now, but eventually I think when we get to the messaging for the midterm in the course of this, it's going to be all about Donald Trump and generally the whole GOP pushing, sort of reverse populism in the course of this and taking people's services away. So, and one thing I'll say, and I know Ed wrote about this, I was there when this Social Security thing happened with George Bush. I did the campaign in 2004. And I remember going to the White House after November when this idea came up about pushing privatizing Social Security. I spoke out against it numerous times and said it was a disaster in the waiting. If we do this, we didn't run on it. The voters didn't vote for us because of this. And if we do it, it's going to be a horrible political problem. I thought we should do immigration reform. They went ahead and did it anyway. And ultimately, it turned out to be a horrible disaster.